Okay, lesson 86, division of polynomials. First, we're going to start by practicing dividing a polynomial by x. So all we need to do is write each individual term over x. And then we simplify each fraction. When everything cancels out in a fraction, you need to remember that it doesn't go to 0. There's still the number 1 there. So this ends up being 3x squared plus 7x minus 1. So that is the answer to example 1. This next one, example 2, we want to divide by 4x to the 4th. So we're still going to do the same thing and divide each term by 4x to the 4th and simplify. Hopefully you enjoy listening to my kids in the background. 12 over 4 is a 3 on top. X to the 12th over x to the 4th. Remember how we do this is you subtract the exponents. So 12 minus 4 is an 8. So this turns out to be 3 and then x to the 8th because it's 12 minus 4 minus 8 over 4 cancels and gives you a 2. So that's minus 2x to the 8 minus 4 is 4th power. And you always subtract from the bigger side. So if you have more on top, then you do the top minus the bottom. If you have more on bottom, you do the bottom minus the top, but your leftover goes on the bottom. So the bigger one gets the leftover. This one, the 4's cancel. X to the 6th over x to the 4th. You subtract 6 minus 4 and you get 2. So plus x squared on top. Okay, now we get to learn that's the easy way of dividing polynomials. That's intro. Now we're going to remember how to do long division of numbers and then learn how to do long division of polynomials. Okay, so let's see if we can remember how to do 49 divided by 12. So you put the 49 underneath and the 12 outside. There's a couple different ways of thinking about it, but I start by going 1 divides into 4 how many times? 4 times. So then I say 12 times 4. Is it smaller than 49? 48. Yes, it's smaller than 49. So I can divide it in there 4 times. 12 times 4 is 48. Write that number here. Subtract. 49 minus 48 is 1. 12 will not divide into 1. So that's your remainder. So you write your remainder over your original divisor. That 12 is your divisor. You can write 49 divided by 12 that way, or you can write it like a fraction, like that. Okay, so 4 and 1/12 is the answer to that fraction, or that division problem. Now let's do 149 divided by 12, which you can also write as 149 over 12. Okay, so 12 into 14, it goes in once. 12 times 1 is 12. Now you subtract 14 minus 12 and you get 2. And then you carry down your 9 and you have 29. 12 goes into 29 how many times? Twice. 2 times 12 is 24, which is less than 29. Write 24 here. Subtract. Remainder 5, which is smaller than 12, so that's my remainder. 12 and 5/12 is the answer to that one. Okay, so that's the basic idea. Just remember how to do long division of numbers. Now we're going to use a very similar process to divide polynomials, where the divisor is a binomial, meaning there's 2 terms. When it was a monomial or just an x or a 4x squared, you could put each term over over the x or the 4x squared. Here, now that you've got 2 terms, you can't do that. So we want to do this same method we did before, except let's order all of the x's so it's in standard form. So we'll start with the highest power of x. 3x cubed minus 2x squared plus 5x plus 50. You want to be sure that you're not skipping any powers of x. Later we'll practice when we do skip powers of x, and so you have to put in a placeholder for the x's that you skip. And then out here I want to write it in decreasing powers of x as well, so x minus 3. Okay, you start by just looking at those first terms. How many times will x divide into 3x cubed? Well, you're dividing. What is 3x cubed divided by x? It's 3x squared. If you need to write it out on the side, you can. 3x cubed divided by x. One of the x's goes away and leaves you with x squared on top. So it goes in 3x squared times. Now we're going to multiply the whole x minus 3 out front by this 3x squared term. So you need to distribute. 3x squared times x is 3x cubed. Minus 3 times 3x squared is minus or negative 9x squared. Okay, now this next part is really important. You want to subtract like we did before with numbers, but you have to put a set of parentheses around this term because you want to subtract the whole thing off, which means every single term involved in, of what we have written here in the parentheses needs to change its sign. So if we subtract everything, I want another color. Let's see if this pen works. That negative distributes into the parentheses and makes that 3x cubed negative, and it makes this negative 9x positive. Okay, so we distributed. 3x cubed minus 3x cubed cancels out. Nothing left. Negative 2x squared plus 9x squared is 7x squared. Then you carry your next term down like we did before, plus 5x. Now, how many times does x divide into 7x squared? If you need to write it out here on the side, you can. 7x squared divided by x is 7x. So I'll write plus 7x. 7x times x minus 3. So before I did 3x squared times x minus 3. Now I'm doing the 7x. It's always just the new term. 7x times x minus 3. You need to be able to, if it's hard to do this in your head, you might want to write it out over on the other side. 7x times x is 7x squared. 7x times negative 3 is negative 21x. And again, put parentheses around the new thing you just wrote and subtract. Then I'll use my red pen so you can see how it changes. You're going to distribute that negative sign through, meaning it's not going to be on the outside anymore. So you're going to get rid of it on the outside. Change the two signs on the inside. That goes away. You can make it a positive and then you don't have to worry about it or scribble it out. 7x squared minus 7x squared cancels. That goes to 0. 5x plus 21x is 26x. Carry the next term down. Plus 50. How many times does x divide into 26x? Write it out on the side if you want to. 26. So plus 26. 26 times x minus 3 is 26x. Minus 3 times 26 is 78. You can write it down or use a calculator or whatever you prefer. Though it's good to be able to multiply without calculators, so it's good practice. Distribute the negative sign through, so that becomes a negative. This becomes a positive. That goes away. 26x minus 26x cancels. Notice every single time the first two terms cancel. You want that to happen. If it doesn't, you made a mistake. 3x cubed minus 3x cubed. 7x squared minus 7x squared. 26x minus 26x. Now we have 50 plus 78, which is 128. Now, if you don't remember to distribute the negative sign each time, that makes this negative turn into a positive, this negative turn into a positive, and this negative turn into a positive, then you won't get the right answer. That's why it's so important that you use these parentheses, because that means you have to distribute that negative to every single term in the parentheses. Okay? Now, once you have a term here that doesn't have an x in it anymore, 128, that's going to be your remainder. Do you remember what we did with our remainder in the long division of numbers? Before you just wrote the remainder over the divisor out here, but now you need a plus sign. So plus 128 over x minus 3 is how you write that. Okay. And let's make sure that's the way the book has their answer written. So this was lesson 86. Example 3. Yep, that's exactly what the book has as their answer. Okay, so that's how you do that one. I want you to try this next one. Okay, so let's set it up together, and then I want you to push pause and see if you can solve it on your own. And then you can unpause it and watch me do it. 2x cubed minus x squared. Put these x's in order. Minus x plus 4 divided by the x minus 2. Put that in order. Okay, go ahead and pause it and see if you can divide this like you did in the previous problem. So if you want to refer to the previous one, there you have it. Okay, x goes into 2x cubed, 2x squared times. Remember to write it over here on the side if you need to. 2x cubed divided by x. And that gives you 2x squared. X minus 2 times 2x squared is 2x cubed minus 4x squared. Subtract with parentheses, distribute that negative sign. That becomes a positive, this becomes a negative, and this becomes a positive. The 2x cubes cancel. Negative x squared plus 4x squared is positive 3x squared minus x. So bring that next term down. X goes into 3x squared, 3x times. Write it out on the side if you need to. 3x times x minus 2, 3x squared minus 6x. Put parentheses around it and subtract. Distribute the negative sign. Oops. There we go. That becomes positive. That becomes negative. That becomes positive. 3x squares cancel. 1 positive, 1 negative. Negative x plus 6x, 5x. Carry the 4 down. X goes into 5x 5 times. 5 times x minus 2. Distribute. Subtract with parentheses. Distribute the negative. 5x minus 5x cancels. 4 plus 10 is 14. That number is now your remainder. So you write plus the remainder over the original divisor, x minus 2. Notice that I've written these problems with the division sign in the middle. Again, you could also write this as 2x cubed minus x squared plus 4 all over negative 2 plus x. That's another way of writing the same thing as a fraction. So your answer here is this. 2x squared plus 3x plus 5 plus 14 over x minus 2. And that's long division of polynomials. We still have 2 more to try. Okay, example 5 is a little bit different, the setup, because here, when you write the polynomial down, 3x cubed, there's no x squared term, so you need to write plus 0x squared. And then negative 2x plus 5. If you think you're ready to try this one, you can go ahead and pause it and try. If you get stumped and you don't know what to do, then you can watch. Okay, go ahead and pause it if you want to try. All right, x goes into 3x cubed, 3x squared times, multiply. Get 3x cubed minus 9x squared. Distribute that negative sign through. 3x cubed minus 3x cubed cancels. 0x squared plus 9x squared gives you 9x squared. Carry the negative 2x down. X goes into 9x squared plus 9x times. Multiply. 9x squared minus 27x. Push pause if I'm going too fast for you guys. Distribute that negative sign through. 9x squared minus 9x squared cancels. Negative 2x plus 27x is 25x. Carry the 5 down. We're almost done. X goes into 25x plus 25 times. 25 times x minus 3 is 25x minus 75. Don't forget to put the parentheses, subtract, and distribute that negative sign. 25x minus 25x goes away. 5 plus 75 is 80. No x's left, so that's your remainder. Plus 80 over x minus 3. And that there is your answer. Good job if you got it. If not, let's keep practicing. Last one. Okay. See if you can set this one up on your own. You start with the x cubed. There's no x squared term and no x term, so be sure to put placeholders with zeros there. Okay, if you didn't know how to set it up, this is what you do. And then you do it the same way you did before. So push pause and try it yourself. All right, x goes into x cubed. I'm going to run out of time. So I'm going to push pause.